So I'm going to quickly take you through some principles here. And these principles help set up the foundations of our focus work. So the first principle, most of you have heard me talk about this, you know, forever and again and again and again. The first principle is that distractions are crucial for focus work. Focus work is an exercise, and any exercise, whether you're talking about walking, running, whether you're talking about weight work, whether you're talking about Pilates, reformer Pilates, whatever it is, every exercise requires a rep, a back and a forth. That is what makes it an exercise. So distractions are crucial for focus work because without the rep, there's no exercise. So without a rep, there's no focus work. But in focus work, distractions are the first half of the rep. Without a distraction, there is no rep. So without a distraction, there is no focus work. And we start with this core understanding. And we keep coming back to this because you will get distracted from this first principle. You will forget it. Distractions are crucial for focus work. Distractions are the first half of the rep. And then we get to complete the rep ourselves, which we'll talk about in a moment. Distractions are the first half of the rep. That means they're crucial for focus work to occur. Without a distraction, focus work will not work. It will not happen. So if you are someone who is distracted, if you're someone like me who has a very loud inner dialogue, your focus work is going to be extremely successful because for every distraction I have another rep set up for me, all ready to go. I don't even need to try. The distraction sets the rep up for me. And if I have 1,000 distractions, I have 1,000 opportunities for reps. 1,000 reps means I'm going to be 1,000 times stronger. It's the first principle. Distractions are crucial for focus work. The second principle, the ego will self-sabotage the rep. The ego will self-sabotage the rep. We go right into the ego in lots of my work. The ego essentially is a survival mechanism, and it will do anything anything it needs to keep itself functioning. Focus work leads us to meditation. Focus work leads us into being. Ego's domain is thought. Ego's domain is thinking. Focus work is leading us to pure observation, where we're observing without the lens of thought. So the ego is going to fire up to keep you where you are in this place of doing, in this place of friction. Your ego does not want you to practice focus work. So the ego will start to throw all sorts of things at you. I'm bored. This is useless. I'm not doing it right. I don't feel comfortable. None of those things are required for focus work. I'm never going to ask you to feel comfortable. I'm never going to ask you to feel calm. I'm definitely never going to ask you not to be distracted because of the first principle. But the ego will still trick you and still make you feel that all these things are true, and then it will self-sabotage the meditation. And that will look like you either stopping, quitting, saying that you can't meditate. So the ego will self-sabotage the rep, meaning that it will say the distraction is, evidence that you can't do it, or that it feels yuck, or that it's clunky, or that it's not the right way to do it. So already we've set ourselves up for a very clear approach. I need distractions. Okay, so I'm not complaining about distractions. I'm not blaming distractions for throwing me off course because they're actually keeping me on course because they're keeping the reps possible. Then the second principle is reminding me, okay, well, the ego is what's going to be telling me that I'm not doing it right. The ego is going to be telling me that I'm bored. The ego is going to be trying to self-sabotage my approach to this. So already with these first and second principles, we can start to set ourselves up for much deeper success than just trying to sit down and do this thing that we call meditation, which once you start digging into it, gets really confusing. Whereas now we know meditation is home. It's pure observation. And the focus work is the doing that is required to get to that being. And that this doing is riddled with the ego trying to self-sabotage, and it relies on the doing. So the third principle helps tie it all together and reminds us that loosening creates space for the rep. So if we look at this beautiful little diagram down here, actions that move us away from what we want are, typical distractions. Then there's an action, and that takes us back to traction. Actions that move us toward what we really want. So this action that sits in the middle in terms of focus work isn't like a grind or, a last little burst of energy like a physical exercise. It's actually the opposite. It's loosening. Because remember, meditation is observing without thought. So we're not gripping onto things with our thinking. We're not attaching ourselves to some sort of outcome through our thoughts. We're actually, instead of clenching and gripping on, we're actually loosening. So distraction is going to be there. It's crucial. So when we notice a distraction, we just loosen and we return to traction. So the action is loosening, and that will bring us back to traction. And I'll tell you what that specific traction is in a moment. But that third principle just helps us remember the importance of loosening, not releasing. Because if I loosen and loosen and loosen and loosen, eventually I will release a deep, a deep type of thought that's been ingrained in me, or I will release a deep emotion that I've held on the nervous system. I'm not going to be able to release that straight away, but if I loosen and loosen and loosen, every time I notice that it's distracting me, every time I notice that tension's distracting me, if I just loosen a little bit and come back to traction, every time I do that, that's a rep. And I'm getting stronger and stronger at focusing on what I want to focus on the actions that move us toward what we really want. And this brings us to the fourth principle because that is what a fit focus does. A fit focus effortlessly notices the distraction and returns to traction. So it effortlessly notices that it's distracted from what it wants and returns to what it wants. So we've got our four principles there.